Hello and welcome to the first ever David67 YouTube Celtic News live stream. Hopefully all is going to work well, that people can hear me, the microphone's working, the camera's working. Hopefully I'll get some kind of feedback to say that everything's fine from those who are watching. Obviously, very early days in the Celtic News David67 YouTube channel, and so slowly building up my subscribers from a base of 0 last week to 12 as of now, and slowly building up experience about how to do things, how to use the various YouTube tools. So just going to do a wee brief live stream review of Celtic's 3-1 victory at Pittodrie earlier on this afternoon, live on Sky Sports. Another game in which Celtic weren't quite at their full best, but came away with a victory in the end. Celtic didn't start the best. Rather scrappy, with Aberdeen on top for the first 10 minutes or so, and then free kick out wide into the box, flick on by Dyson Maida and tucked away by Lee Labada. Initially, goal was disallowed for offside, but happily, after a VAR check, Celtic were given the goal. Aberdeen shortly after did score an equaliser, ball over the top, which was a problem for Celtic defence the whole way through the game. Ball over the top. Carter Vickers caught for pace into the box, and Aberdeen scored. Happily, within a few minutes, within 4 minutes, Kyogo managed to get on the end of a short header back by Devlin and scored the second goal leading up to half time. Thought Celtic were rather scrappy in first half. David Turnbull rather anonymous this game as well. I think Celtic's best two players in the first half were Greg Taylor down the left, both defensively moving in his inverted fullback role into midfield, and particularly my number one player for the first half was Dyson Maida. A lot of good pace down the left side, important flick on for the Abada goal, and a couple of good moves that he was involved in, helping Celtic towards remaining on top for the duration of the first half. Aberdeen managed to stay in the game. Thought Celtic were slightly struggling in defence, although Anthony Ralston did get better the further the game went on. And in the second half, I think he played better than in the first half, and a lot better than his game against Ross County. At half-time, I was expecting a substitution with Turnbull going off, and he was replaced by Hatate. Rather worryingly, however, Cameron Carter-Vickers also went off at half-time to be replaced by Stephen Welsh. Happily, the feedback from Brendan Rodgers is that the taking off of Carter-Vickers was solely a precaution, slight tweak or discomfort in his hamstring, and is not thought to be an injury that's going to keep him out for next week's match against Kilmarnock in the Viaplay Cup. Hatate came on at half-time and much improved performance. Celtic got very much more on top again. He controlled the game well, I thought, and he and Callum McGregor controlled things far better and got things moving, got things going. couple of close calls with Kyogo, Dyson Maida, Leela Bada, all very close to scoring the critical third goal that would have secured the match for Celtic. Aberdeen remained in the game, however, and were starting to get a wee bit more on top, particularly after Rio Hatate had to go off with an injury, said to be a calf injury, and the current medical update through Brendan Rodgers is that the injury may well keep him out for a couple of weeks. However, I'm sure he will be assessed by the physios and medical staff tomorrow, and so hopefully within the next 24 hours or so, we'll get a good idea as to whether he's going to be fit for next weekend's match against Kilmarnock, or whether he's going to have a week or two on the sidelines. Tiago Holm came on, was tidy enough without showing any great forward action or creativity. Close call also with Joe Hart taking out the Aberdeen striker. Could have and would have been a red card. However, luckily the offside flag went up, and so Joe Hart survived. Thought Joe Hart, apart from the first few minutes where things were a bit nervous and shaky, few near misses and mishaps, thought his performance was generally much better this week than last week against Ross County. Controlled his and managed his box far better, tending to punch crosses from free kicks and corners out, but however was clearing his box well, and generally things were a bit better organised in defence, a bit better linking from defence into midfield. Towards the end, Celtic go back on top with Yang coming on as a substitute for Abada. Thought Yang played quite well for the 20 minutes or so that he was on the pitch. Couple of good forward moves. Similarly, Dyson Maida, who really should have scored, but allowed Roos to save the ball. But within a minute or two, however, Celtic scored the third goal. Nice pass by Yang and side-footed away by Matt O'Reilly to secure the victory with about 5-10 minutes to go. James Forrest came on very late in the match as a replacement for Kyogo, and he nearly scored a fourth goal. So overall, I think Celtic were the better team, not playing quite better as well at their 100%, but played well enough to win and back to the top of the table as things stand. Overall, my man of the match would be Dyson Maida, with a mention for Greg Taylor at left back and left inverted fullback. Was actually very impressed with Stephen Welsh in the second half. Thought he played quite calmly, played well with Nawrocki, seemed to play well with also Ralston to his side. And as I said, I thought Ralston played better in the second half and was starting to look a bit more comfortable in defence. Still a little bit concerned at Celtic being prone to balls coming from the deep, going over the top. And that Celtic don't quite have the pace in central defence that we would like there to be. The move for Gustav Lagerbielke appears to be going through tomorrow and Tuesday with a medical scheduled, and then final contract talks between his agent and Celtic. And so I think Lagerbielke will be a very good addition to the squad, providing cover for Carter Vickers if his injury does turn out to be a wee bit more significant than expected. Also encouraged that Celtic are also in contact with Volendam regarding Xavier Mbuyamba. Mbayamba, not quite the finished product from what people are saying, but with massive potential, and would be available for a couple of £1 million as opposed to the expected £3 million rumoured for Lagerbielke. I will come to, there's a few wee questions coming in on the community chat section. I will come to those in a few minutes or two, and then we can have a bit of a discussion. Encouraged that also that Yang appears to be settling down quite nicely. I do think he is a player of great promise. And I do also feel that Dyson Maeda seems to have moved on a step or two, and starting to be a wee bit more direct, showing his pace, getting forward more. Was obviously involved in the goal with Abada. One main concern, however, is his finishing is not quite what we would want for a player playing on the left and coming in as the inside forward, and certainly not what we would expect for a player playing through the middle. And certainly he really should have scored the third goal. However, luckily, shortly just after that, O'Reilly did score almost within 30 seconds to a minute of that time. So our next match will be against Kilmarnock next weekend in the Viaplay Cup last 16. Unfortunately, I think Rio Hatate won't be fit for that match. However, that may also cool the transfer interest reportedly present with Tottenham, Brighton, and some of the Saudi league teams, which may well be a blessing in disguise. Interest apparently also in Kyogo and in Abada, but nothing official. And Brendan Rodgers tended to downplay any risk of those players leaving in the transfer window. No other major Celtic news, although our women's team is playing at the moment. And when I last checked, they were winning 8-0 away from home at Montrose. And so they obviously have had a great start to this season. And I thought it was actually really encouraging how well the Celtic club and the Celtic fans took to the women's team in the last few weeks of their season last season, which ended with coming second in the Women's Scottish Premier League and winning the Scottish Cup at the very end of the season. And we're within a minute or two of winning the league and cup double, only failing to do so by a rather dubious disallowed goal scored by the Rangers women's team that was disallowed against the Glasgow women's team. Just having a wee look at the questions that have come in through the community. It says, who do you think the man of the match was? My man of the match, Matt, would really have been Dyson Maeda. Nice attacking play, great pace down the left wing, getting in behind the defence, some crucial passes into the middle, supporting also in the middle to lead up to the first goal. As always, I think Kyogo did everything you'd expect from Kyogo. Had a couple of chances, took one of them, showed a lot of good anticipation, good position sense to take advantage of Nicky Devlin's short header pass back to the goalkeeper to score the crucial second goal. I thought Matt O'Reilly actually had a good game, and is good also that he's getting himself into the box for crucial finishes. Scored obviously last week against Ross County, scored again today. And I think hoping Matt O'Reilly does stay at Celtic for another season or two. And I think given his young age, he's going to become a better and better player and could well be a good player for us in Europe in our upcoming Champions League season. think David Turnbull's a great player. I think David Turnbull's best input for Celtic actually is more coming off the bench. I thought he was rather anonymous in the first half. Scarcely heard his name being mentioned, saw him really getting properly into the game. And I would actually much more rather he was on the bench, coming off the bench after 60, 75 minutes, coming on with more of an attacking option, good from the dead ball, good with these long shots. One of the few Celtic players now that Tony Rogic is gone that has a real ability to score from distance. And so I think David Turnbull for Celtic's more of an impact player, coming off the bench rather than being a regular starter. And I hope once Rio Hatate is back to full fitness, that he and McGregor and O'Reilly will be our first choice three, assuming that all those players stay at us through the transfer window. The comment regarding here, should it have been a red card? If we're talking about Graham Shinney's repeated fouling, he did seem rather lucky to get away with a yellow card on 2 or 3 occasions. Those totaling up would have led to a red card. However, Kevin Clancy today seemed to keep his yellow cards in his back pocket. Did book our captain, Callum McGregor, although that was a deserved yellow card. The Joe Hart foul would have been a red card, I'm sure. However, the offside flag prevented that being the case. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers is a great player and that he is getting back towards his best. I think he still hasn't quite regained his full fitness, speed and agility, but he is a key player for Celtic. I really do hope that we keep Carter-Vickers at the club for another few seasons. I think he is a great player. And I think he's one of the leaders in the club. I think he is a kind of unofficial vice captain for Callum McGregor. I think he organises the defence very well. Good linking so far with Nawrocki. And I'm fully sure that Nawrocki, Carter-Vickers and Lagerbielke will all work together well. Good thing also about Gustav Lagerbielke, if he does come, as expected next week, is he can also double up at right back, which could be useful in the period up until when Alistair Johnson is back to fitness, back playing for us in about 4 to 6 weeks' time. And so having another option at right back to go with Tony Ralston is useful. Lagerbielke, although he is right-footed, has played traditionally on the left side of defence, a la Karl Stahlfeldt, and so I think he will fit nicely into Celtic's team. A couple of other questions I think we've covered already. I did think Graham Shinney was rather lucky to get away with so many fouls. Even if you totaled up all the fouls, that would have merited a yellow card for repeated fouling. And actually, I think if Celtic can keep hold of Stephen Welsh, I think it's actually good for Celtic. We've got the fact that he's a young player, appears to be a massive Celtic fan playing for his favourite club. He is also a homegrown player and a Scottish player and homegrown, and so useful for all the UEFA quotas that we have to meet. As I was saying, just early days in the channel, starting to get used to all the ins and outs of the system. I think if there's no further questions, we'll call it a day. Planning to do further live streams after each Celtic match. Next time we'll try and schedule the timings so that it is closer to the end of the match. Just one or two wee gremlins getting things live streamed and up and running today, and so gave myself an extra couple of hours to get all the technicalities organised. Plans for the future on the channel. Do plan to do a little video countdown of my top 20 players in the time I've been watching Celtic since the early 70s. Also, I will be doing a daily Celtic trivia quiz question through the community section of the channel, and also plan to do one or two little news update videos every day, and a weekly preview the day before the match with each of Celtic's matches. So, good news from today's game in Aberdeen, 3-1 victory against a team that's liable to be, as things stood at the start of the season, probably our biggest rival other than Rangers for the title. Aberdeen have started a little bit slowly. Hearts currently would appear to be a bigger challenge to Hearts than Aberdeen, but will be difficult to know. Hearts may also struggle if they do move through into playing in the European competitions more regularly. As last season they did struggle when they were playing in the Conference League and playing the Scottish Premier League. They did seem to really struggle playing two games a week on a regular basis. I think Celtic have got a more than good enough squad to win all three trophies again this season. Also have a strong enough squad to do well in Europe. I think a lot of our players last season weren't very experienced in Europe. I think it's actually quite a large step up, obviously, for all the Scottish teams moving into European competitions. I think also probably with Brendan Rodgers, we're maybe going to have a wee bit more of pragmatism, a little bit more of changing the tactics, changing the lineups to suit the opposition. I absolutely loved Ange Postecoglou's positive way of playing football. Really loved his way of always wanting to be on the attack, never giving up, playing to the whistle, playing right to the end of both halves. I think, has improved Celtic's fitness quite considerably. The fact that we've had a few injuries in the early season, the fact that Abada's twice gone off early in the second half, that might be a slight concern. Just going to do a quick wee check to see how the women's team has done. Their game should be coming towards the end. Apologies for looking away. Nope. Sorry, can't find the result there. I'll give you a wee update with regards to the final score in the Celtic women's match. But when last looked, after about 20 minutes or so, halfway through the second half, Celtic were winning 8-0, with Kit Lefersky, our American player, having scored a hat-trick, and some early second half goals as well from our other players, such as Amy Gallagher. So thank you for listening to today's first live stream from the David 67 Celtic News YouTube channel. We'll schedule further live streams, hopefully nearer the end of the, just after the end of the games from next weekend onwards. And do watch out for daily video updates, and also there's going to be a daily Celtic trivia question. Reliably informed that Celtic women's now going 9-0 up, so obviously an excellent start to the season, and we'll also plan over the next few months to do little updates of the Celtic women's team, as I do think it's important to cover also the B team and also the women's team, to get updates on Celtic, because they're all part of the Celtic club, all part of the Celtic family. So thank you for listening. Thank you for all the questions and comments in the comment section, and speak to you again tomorrow, and we'll do another live stream next weekend. Okay, bye-bye now.